I got to ask you, camel spiders. Did you
Uh,
ever see them?
no, I never saw anything. I did see it's a not the camel spider, but it's a big brown one that's like it's very toxic.
Yeah.
And those were on the base like a lot. We had those around quite a bit.
Oh, by the way, viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah.
Now, on a serious note, the Canadian military is actually a team to be reckoned with because I know they bailed a lot of countries out.
Yeah.
It goes way back to World War II. I mean, they bailed the Dutch out.
Oh,
It's in the history books where the
yeah.
U.S. couldn't do it. No other country could do it, but the Canadians went in there.
Oh, the Canadians definitely went in and they saved the day there. And that's what I've been to. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Nijmegen and Grosbeek.
No.
Well, Grosbeek is where the Canadians were dragged across. Because remember, so the history of it is that the Germans were slaughtering people right up into the line, the Dutch line, and the Canadians were there, and the general had said he didn't want any Canadians on German land, alive or dead. So the Dutch, in the middle of the night, pulled the Canadians' dead bodies up into the hills and buried them, most of them in Grosbeek up there. So they're all marked and they tend to the cemetery and to all of the gravestones and everything. So I've had the absolute honor of representing Canada in Nijmegen it's called the Nijmegen Marches. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
No.
It's a 4-day, 40 kilometers. The Canadians and the other military do 50 kilometers per day for 4 days, starting in the center of Nijmegen. And then they march out and it's in a cloverleaf shape. And I got to go and actually represent Canada there and walk and see where all of this history actually was and all the stories my father had told me about being over there as well. So it was fantastic. Like what an experience it was. And the Dutch, when they see us, they see the little flag.
Yeah.
The history is there. Everybody still remembers and is grateful to the Canadians for what we've done. And it literally it gave me goosebumps. I got goosebumps now. Like it gives me goosebumps because they just love us. Like it's so
that is
wonderful.
so cool. And I know in war games, I know we go up against the U.S. and we come out on top a lot.
Because we're smaller.
Is that what it is?
But we're a very small military compared to the Americans and a lot of the sort of the larger countries. We're a very small military. But we are a powerhouse because we have the ability to think and organize in really small like groups, and we can do it quickly and efficiently because of the way that we our ethos, right? The way that we are together and the way that we stand together quickly. We're very loyal to each other. Like when we go overseas and stuff, we don't usually have a massive contingency that's there. We usually have a smaller one and we just mesh really quickly. Everybody hits the ground. There's no personal anything. It's all professional. In you go, get your job done and get out. But we're definitely I would say probably number one in the world for
That's impressive. You just gave me another like little goosebump feeling. That is really cool. I mean, I did Sea Cadets back in the day with thoughts of, going, and I was always a good runner and they made you run to the wall and back. Is that wall still there in Comox?
Quadra, yeah.
Quadra, yeah.
Goospit?
Yeah.
I don't know if the wall's there or not. It might be.
That was punishment. You had to run through sand.
I can't say that I had that kind of training. I had more of the get out of my way like a bulldozer type of training when I was young. So that's what I took with me.
Did you ever have to do boot camp?
I did it twice, as a matter of fact.
Whoa, that's hard. Tell us about that.
So the first time I went to boot camp, we were 13 weeks, I think, for boot camp, and I made it to week 11, and they were doing a simulated practice training in the gym, and 2 recruits were on either end of a log, and I had to run across the log. Well, like I hit that log like a freight train, and the girl who was holding the other end weighed about, I don't know, 89 pounds. And so she didn't quite hang on to it well enough. And I rolled my foot, I broke it. I broke my foot, snapped the metatarsal in my foot.
Oh.
They did try to keep me on training, but it got to the point where they realized that, you know, my foot that was the size of a boot was not going to fit in my boot. So they sent me home, and I came back here to Comox for a year, and then they sent me back, but they made me start it all over again.
Oh, you couldn't carry on. Oh.
No, so they didn't have what they've got now. They've got like little holding groups for people who are going to be out for a couple of weeks. So when I got home, they realized that my foot was actually broken and stuff. When I was there, they couldn't see it. It was so swollen. Wow. So anyways, I went back for a second time. And of course, now I show up and I'm el preparado, man, for this. I am so prepared.
Focused.
Like, I'm like, I get in there. First day, I load up my locker and everything else. It looks like I'm at the end of it. It looks like I'm graduating tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the Master Corporal walked in and he says, Chisholm, because he was my Master Corporal the year before.
Oh.
He's like, Chisholm, yeah, you're going to need to that up fast.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, you can't be at this point. And everybody, he says, or you're going to leave your cupboard closed until they reach this point.
Okay.
And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm good with that. So that's what I did. So I became the laundry lady, and I became, you know, like I helped everybody, you know, learn to do things faster, because obviously I'd been there before. So it was like helping people get, you know, their mindset where they needed to get it faster. I was also the cleaning lady that, you know, if you left your wallet or your Lipsil in your clothing and I washed it, it flew down the hallway.
Did you ever see like action where there was a lot of stuff going on? Because I remember texting you one time and you were heading over to the Middle East. War was breaking out.
So for me, I did belong to some pretty cool organizations. And what I can say is I've been through a few things that were probably not things you want to write home to your mom about.
Yeah,
that's for sure. The one thing, like when you're talking about when I was overseas, and I know when that was, it was when I went to the Golan, and in the military, we call that a swan tour, right? Like it's a swan apparently, but that one there actually was a little scary for me because I never actually heard what a tank explosion sounded like.
Oh.
So the first time because I came from here in peaceful little Comox Valley, you know, and doing my little walks on the beach every day and meditation and stuff. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting in a camp where I hear this enormous bang. And then the earth kind of rocks a little bit. And then the sirens go off. And then people are running to the bunkers because we actually had bunkers right there on site.
Okay.
And we're running into the bunkers, and I'm like standing there and I'm like, hey, like, what's going on, guys? You know? And they're like, well, you know, we don't know what's happening yet. We got to wait. So this was my first impression of it. It's like, okay, so now they run you through, tell you this is what's going to happen. We're going to wait till this happens and the signal and everything else. And my only issue was, listen, did anybody have lunch today? Because I didn't. Like,
are you serious?
Yeah, because I hadn't had lunch because everybody had gone for lunch and I had to stay behind and cover while they all went for lunch. And I was like, I didn't have lunch, so this might not be working out for me. And I try to keep humor at the forefront, even when I am scared absolutely shitless.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really did. I brought that into the whole thing. And I did things like I did these marches in the desert in no man's land. And we went through known minefields, you know, and it says, you know, stay between the red dots. Well, the effing red dots disappeared. And I'm walking like, well, where the hell am I? And then you realize that I'm in a landmine area. Like, how am I getting out of this one? Right. So, you know, and then taking control and getting the person out and then we got further down the trail and got attacked by a bunch of little kids who wanted our earrings.
Oh, yeah. But literally they attacked you.
Well, yeah, they did. They would open up our bags and stuff. We're in the middle of the desert doing a march. So it was like these little kids, they're just desperate. They want money. They want anything that they can possibly sell. We're in Syria by this point, right?
Oh, okay.
So, they'll come up, and if you got a backpack on, they'll divert you and they will clean your backpack out and you don't even know that they've been in it.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're quick.
They're that good. Wow.
They're quick. Yeah. So that was a little scary. And and then we got pelted by rocks by a bunch of little kids. And then I come around the corner and there's this poor little girl. She's probably 3. And she's got her arms all stretched out at me, right? She wants a hug.
Yeah.
I'm thinking listen, not my first trip to the rodeo here, little girl, as I go by, but she's got tears in her eyes. So I end up hugging her anyways.
Yeah.
Plus 2, being a woman was a little more challenging as well. So after that march that we were on, it was actually said that none of the women would be left by themselves marching because we were 2 marching by ourselves.
Okay.
So that changed completely. We had to stay in groups at that point.
Yeah. I think even as a guy, I'd be kind of a little paranoid, because you're in a foreign country. They don't know who you are. They just see a uniform and you're all the same. You're military. Yeah, you're not Sonja Chisholm. You're military.
No, but when you're in a country like that and then you're female on top of it and you're blonde hair, blue eyes, and you're the size of a 12-year-old, you're easy pickings. And we had this huge talk about when we go into the city to the souks to go shopping.
Yeah.
We were told you never are out of sight of anybody. You're always with somebody because they'll grab you.
On the next episode.
Oh, wow. So I'm walking along and all of a sudden my hand gets grabbed and I get yanked.